Hey everyone, what's up? Let's talk about the Western Conference Finals. Game 1, Edmonton, Dallas. May 23rd, for the record. It was yesterday. I actually had watched the game live for once, go figure. But I chose to do this in the morning because, hey, better lighting and I generally have more energy, so there's that. But we will probably try the late night videos as the playoffs roll along, because you know me, I like to change things up. And you'll see with the set, which I'll talk about at the end. Anyway, let's get rolling right into this. First period, no goals. 10 total shots, advantage there, 7-3 in favor of Dallas. Didn't tell a full story, but you know, it's a first period. Which we've seen, I think, a lot in the last just several games, even though a lot of those were end around two. A lot of the first period's been kind of quiet for some of these teams, but it's a trend. We'll see if it continues. That sound is telling me to move on. It's actually something I have set you don't even know about. Anyway, second period. Now we get some goals. And I apologize, I don't have details of these marked down per se, except for one of them. I'll explain why after. Second period. Right early in the second period, literally in the first minute, because there's 19:02 left on the clock, when Draisaitl puts a goal in for Edmonton, making it 1-0 Edmonton. And then at 15:43 remaining in the second period, so about 5 minutes in, a little less, but another Edmonton goal, this time from Hyman. I want to say it was off a rebound, or McDavid passed, usually one of those two, but I forget. And then with 13:44 remaining in the second period, Dallas strikes back, gets on the scoreboard from Tyler Seguin. That one I do have a note on. That was definitely a crash in that rebound, bounced out to Seguin, buries it. There we go. 2-1 game. Edmonton's favor still. And that ends the second period. Now, why my notes on those goals are so light is after the first period, in the intermission, they reminded me, because I knew that for the Western Conference Finals, they were going to do this whole like special extra thing, data cast, kind of like some bringing in real-time advanced stats, analytics stuff into a broadcast. I'm like, I'll check that out just to see what it is and my thoughts about it. And initially, my first impressions were, wow, this is really great. This is awesome. Like, you can see line changes happening in real time with their ice time and really, really specific face-off percentages based on not only who's in the dot, but where they're at, the hand, like all these different situations that play into it. Again, advanced stats in real time. The only problem I found, and this happened a little bit into the third, I didn't mark a time, I started to notice something. As much as I'm enjoying the advanced stats side of things and seeing all that, which I know it's not for everyone, because occasionally, arbitrarily, they'll turn on the puck trail. Not the glowing one with the colors, but just the basic thing. And arbitrarily on, arbitrarily off for no reason. Another kind of nice overlay I like, it was very light, not even a black line. Sometimes on a PK, they would show the lines connecting between all the players in the PK, kind of show what formation they were in or out of even. And they wouldn't do that just for PKs. Sometimes off rush play. Again, arbitrary use of this. Their first time doing it. And I was reading an article about it when I was trying to look up what it was called, where I could find it. After that first period. It's a totally separate broadcast from the main feed. The drawback to that is it's an entirely separate broadcast, an entirely separate play-by-play. And the guys doing that are the people that are also, I think, the same ones in the booth sort of in between periods for analysis, even though, and again, I may check out a little bit of game two, further games here and there to see, but there was a point, and this happened especially late in the second, early in the third, they weren't really calling the game at that point. They were literally going off on a tangent about advanced stats and analytics and how long it's been around. Like, talking about everything but the actual hockey happening in front of them. And occasionally, like, a big play would happen, and they had to kind of stop their thought of talking about data analysis and like, oh yes, there's a play. They were it was bizarre. It's honestly one of probably the worst broadcasts I've ever seen in terms of play-by-play calling it, because they weren't calling the game. They were talking about numbers and stats. Not even what was going on in the game per se, just like history of it. Like they point out, like, this has been around forever. And Scotty Bowman used to track what players are on the ice, goals for and goals against. Not like they said that's like a thing. Like, isn't that just what plus minus was? That was already a stat. I don't know. They probably either I misheard or they missaid it, but they talked about how Bowman used to manually by hand track certain what we now consider advanced stats, but they're stats. That would determine who he would put more likely to put on the ice or not. But again, what they were talking about to me just sounded like they're talking about plus minus, which, as we know, can be misleading. But anyway, I note all of that because I'm sure you saw the thumbnail. Which, again, I messaged a friend of mine just because he's a friend. I was like, because before the game even started, I'm like, here's a little fancy preview for you of the thumbnail for the next video. And I told him, like, I get random ideas at random times for what that thumbnail could be. And that was the first time so far it's happened in pregame. Just watching the actually long pregame show on the TNT broadcast side of things for the national broadcast for us Americans. And I was pleasantly surprised because, obviously there's staples there, Bissonnette and Liam McHugh and Ace. I forget his full name. And then you'll have a rotation out of some former Hall of Fame players. Generally, prominently, Shane Doan's there every now and then. Henrik Lundqvist is there quite a bit. And on occasion, at least throughout the playoffs, I don't know if he's there during regular season broadcasts. Sometimes, poof, sudden Wayne Gretzky will show up, which anytime Wayne's there, everyone listens. That thumbnail I captured was kind of serendipitous because I didn't pause that it was a live broadcast. I didn't feel like pausing any of it or mid-fixing. I snapped that mid-broadcast. Just happened to be that Wayne's about to say something, so everyone's looking at him. It's really funny. But what was cool when I tuned in for that broadcast, I was like, oh, we not only get Lundqvist, who's on the far right side of or from camera side, far right, and on the far left, next to Bissonnette, was Gretzky. So I was like, well, yeah, this is something. Like, normally you don't see, like, Lundqvist and Gretzky. It's one or the other, but both? Yay. So I couldn't help make that thumbnail, make a little cheeky reference to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back with the Mark Hamill joke. Because I'm like, hey, kids, Wayne Gretzky. I say all that because it did dawn on me as I'm watching that beginning parts of the third period, still on the DataCast stream. And again, this is about at a point where they're still on this long tangents about analytics. I'm like, guys, third period, focus. This is when it's going to get interesting in a 2-1 game, 1-goal game. And it dawned on me too. I mentioned the whole Gretzky tangent because I'm like, man, you know what I'm really missing here? And I did miss in the first and second intermissions was whatever Gretzky has to say about whatever. And when Wayne Gretzky talks, if you're a hockey fan, you generally kind of want to listen to what he has to say. And that'll be proven later on, too, and we'll get to that. Anyway, I have a note here in my notes, and the reason I went off on that whole side note with the DataCast, which I do, again, I want to give it some more opportunities and chances, because it was their first time doing it broadcast-wise. So I'm sure, hopefully, the broadcast crew they have for that gets better. Maybe a little bit of coaching from people that actually do it full time. Like you could very, very easily tell these guys are not play-by-play or color guys. These are analytics guys. So they look at things completely differently than the average broadcast team would. So it's very different. I get that. Anyway, I do have a note. Right after I switched from the DataCast stream back to the regular national broadcast stream, not right after, but within a minute, I'd say, they cut to a bunch of clips. They had Logan Stankoven in Dallas, one of my favorite Dallas players. Again, because he has a brilliant last name of Stankhoven. I did a whole video about that. Well, not a whole video about it, but I highlighted it previously. I'll put it up there in the card when it's done. Oh, wait, this is flipped, so it'll be up there. Yeah, it's up there. I hit the wrong side because cameras like to flip everything horizontal when you record. I don't know why. I think it's only when I'm using the front-facing camera, so I'll blame that. But yeah, it was really, really fun because, again, Stankhoven's a rookie, so playoffs like this and this deep into a conference finals, all new to him. So got a little clips. He was mic'd up for the game, so I'm sure there's more they'll post online. We'll see afterward what they can air because it's hockey. But it was still pretty fun. And again, doing that switch immediately, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have gotten any of those audio clips or any of that watching the datacast. That's not how they were covering the game. That's also why those goals I have early on are so sparsely labeled, because they typically wouldn't go into a replay, classic replay of a goal. Maybe once they'd show something, and then they'd go to like a big overhead thing of like virtual animation display thing, just little circles and numbers and the direction they're facing, where the puck's at, and how they're all moving on the ice. So you can see the whole. It's interesting, but I kind of want to see more exactly how the goal was scored, so I can put it in my notes and relate it to this in the video. Didn't really get that at the datacast. I can tell you how hard the puck was shot when it went in the net, but that's not really that relevant now, is it? Care more so about how the play of all that happened to get the puck in the back of the net than the speed of it or where it was shot from. Actually, they didn't go into that as far as well, they probably did at some point. There's so many stats they were putting up. The one thing I did enjoy that they did do briefly, again, they're probably still experimenting with stuff they are testing in terms of what the audience likes. One thing I really liked, that was really cool, is at one point they kind of split the frame. Let's say it was about here, and then this section of the frame was just a close-up shot, tight camera on Ottinger. Well, over here, the rest of the frame, the game's still going on. Like, you're still seeing the wide angle of it. And that happened when there happened to be an offensive zone press by Edmonton. So it was really cool to watch. Like, I was actually watching just the Ottinger, like, little smaller screen of just the close-up on him the entire, like, kind of looking back and forth when the puck would bounce back out, kind of see where it went, and then go back and see how Ottinger's reacting. That was awesome. If I could just choose that as a view, like, I think in the future, the way we're streaming is going, we will see some stuff like this be customizable, I think, in terms of interface and how you want the broadcast presented to you. You'll have some choice in that. That's my prediction. I would like it to go that way. And hey, you know what? If you make it a premium service you can charge for, I think the NHL's go for it, because money. So, anyway, that's enough about my rant. We're already 13 minutes into this, and really the game is just getting started. Spoilers. Alright. Well, sort of, like I said, it's 2-1 Edmonton, and the clock is definitely ticking down in the third period. Kind of looking like Edmonton might take it. Then some stuff happens. With 3 minutes and 23 seconds remaining in the third period, Tyler Seguin gets a goal for Dallas to tie it. Now, this one I do have notes on because I actually saw the broadcast. I forgot who initially took the shot for Dallas. Kind of from the high slot circle, top corner of the circle. That shot deflected off someone, I think an Edmonton player. Hits the Donoff and is on the stick. His stick's on the ice in front of the net. And I've heard other broadcasts saying that it was an intentional redirect pass. I don't think it was. The way the Donoff reacts to it, he just had a stick on the ice, and the angle it was at happened to just be perfect for the way that deflected rebound or shot that got deflected, took a weird bounce off, I think, like Edmonton's skate. Hits the Donoff's stick, redirects right to Seguin, who's wide open with a wide open net, so he just buries it. That's our tying goal. So yes, great accidental pass by Donoff. Good play to have his stick on the ice. That's fundamentals 101 there when you're in front of the net. I'll actually be probably looking for the tip. I don't know. The shot may be coming low. It probably was. And again, it hit like a skater. It hit something. Then it hit the Donoff stick. And then made a just the angle of the stick was that, the angle of the puck hit. He didn't have to move the Donov didn't move the stick. I don't think he saw it coming, didn't know it was going to happen. Because it bounced off his stick real quick right to Sagan, who buries, like I said, that's ties the game. Then right after that, off the opening faceoff from that goal, Holloway, who I think I mentioned previously, was it the Game 7 with Edmonton Vancouver? It might have been. It might have been one of the early goals, or it was in Game 6. Because I was like, Holloway, and I was like, well, I mentioned, like, I don't know who it is either. You know, he played some college, one of their younger prospects on the team. Made another great play here. Because he was able to get the puck and get behind the defense barely by like a half step to get a nice kind of one-on-one chance with Ottinger, who makes a huge save. And this borderlines on looking flashy and just being good fundamentals because it was a nice just pad save with the leg. But considering the scenario it was, huge stop. Like if Edmonton just answered right back and took the lead again with 3.5 minutes left, that's done. So Ottinger saves the game for Dallas right there. Or at least it gives them a chance to go to overtime. There is a late press and some chances for Dallas, but Skinner and Edmonton's defense able to hold it off. I think there was a last-minute save at the buzzer, too. Not a big, huge one, just standard stuff, but still good on Skinner. And the defense. And now we get to overtime. And as I do in my notes, because I do watch the broadcasts, especially national game, especially TNT, because I do like their broadcast crew. Like, they're a lot of fun. Like I said, Wayne Gretzky. Occasional Wayne Gretzky, at least. I don't have extensive notes on this, but again, the way I keep my notes, I'll draw a little line, like, after each period ends, but I won't quite write, I'll have, first, second, third, I'll separate it. I don't always write the period down first. I'll draw the line to indicate the break, because every now and then there's something that happens during the intermission broadcast I want to take note of as a highlight. This was one of them. Because during that intermission before the overtime, you get some really great stories between Wayne Gretzky and Henrik Lundqvist talking about equipment, of all things. And it was fascinating. Stuff I just never heard. I will share one anecdote, real briefly, from Gretzky, talking about how when he played, he had older skates that were that were leather, and so those things, he said he goes to about 3 pairs a year or per season, because over time they just absorb water and get heavier and heavier and heavier. So it wasn't like completely different than modern day players who change skates whenever they want to, every game if they want to. It doesn't matter. Although Gretzky did talk about how he used to go through about 50 pairs of gloves per season just because he liked the way a fresh palm felt on the glove. And I totally understand that. Like, I got these gloves slightly used, but overall the inside of the palm actually still generally, because over time, trust me, if you play hockey, you know that after a long enough time, the inside of the palms can get a bit scratchy on the hands and they get worn down. So I totally understand that. Yeah, Gretzky had a thing. It was weird. Wouldn't change his skates all that often. Would change gloves quite frequently. So thought it was interesting. Love to know stories about his sticks too, but I'm sure all this is available somewhere. But again, it's always fun to hear Wayne talk. And then obviously, Hank Lundqvist talking about goaltending equipment and various things and how things even changed over the course of his career for his equipment. It was, again, good stuff. And I'm sorry for the tangent, but hey, you know what? I think that was the highlight of this first game. Hearing 2 Hall of Famers talk about just weird little stuff like that. That's why, again, as a Detroit fan and anyone who's watched Detroit local broadcasts, there's a reason why Mickey Redmond is a legend and will go in the Hall of Fame as a broadcaster when he retires. So, because he's a former player, and we just love hearing a lot of the old stories from the 70s and how things used to be, and all. It's Mickey's a lot of fun. He's, again, if you know what I'm talking about, then you know. I don't gotta tell you. Anyway, enough with the tangents, because now we're like a 20-minute video. And I haven't even gotten to the overtime stuff yet. All right. Oh, yeah. 17 seconds into the first overtime. McDavid takes a 4-minute double minor for high sticking Duchesne because it cuts him. So, with that, we are going to start the overtime. Dallas is going on a 4-minute power play with McDavid off the ice in the box. Not that I think he's out there. I don't think he kills penalties for I almost said Ottawa Oilers. Edmonton. Words. I don't think he does. I haven't watched the team that closely to notice. I would hope he does. That's an old, very much 90s Red Wings mentality of Steve Eiserman out there killing penalties because he's the captain. That's what he does. And I think if you're going to be captain of the team, I don't care what your skill level is, you are out there on the main penalty, especially if you're the top center. You are the main top center penalty killer. In my opinion, that's honestly how I have my lines set up in all the video game stuff I play. Literally, my top 2 lines are my top 2. Generally, there's sometimes I'll make some swaps out depending on defensemen or two-way forwards if they're available for like one player. But generally speaking, my top penalty killing lines when I play video games are my best players. Well, that's because I'm playing online games, and sometimes you can have a big discrepancy with your, well, in my case, my first 3 lines are pretty solid, the 4th one drops off a little bit. And the game will autofill sometimes. Even though you can manually set all your lineups for everything, if one of my like top 6, especially my top 2 centers, ends up in the penalty box, the game will kind of automatically assume you want one of your 4th line grinders on that penalty kill. And I'm like, not really. Could you move it up a lot? But whatever. Again, wild tangents today. That's what happens when I watch a game at night and get a full day of rest to think about it and can go off on tangents. Anyway, so, yes, we go to, I'm trying to see my notes here. Oh, that's right, yep. On that ensuing Dallas power play that we have here, about 30 seconds into it, because it was called with 1943 left, 17 seconds in. And at 1918, that's the timestamp I have, it's not exact. Jason Robertson, sorry, I mumble sometimes, my bad. For Dallas, had basically 2 back-to-back post hits. The first of which was really interesting because it was a shot that got past Skinner, like through traffic on a screen, a low shot, got past Skinner, hit the like inside-ish of the post. I wish I had a board I could better show you the angle it hit, but hits that, like the angle's coming at it, hits the inside-ish, not quite inside, sort of the, between inside and outside, there's the other region. I'm going to call it that outer inside or whatever. Bounces right back out through Skinner's 5-hole because he's already down in butterfly, so the pads are kind of bred, and it just boop right back. I forget on broadcast, I forget who called it, a reverse 5-hole. I'm like, yeah, that's the way to put it. But yeah, the odds of that happening, it was a shot that got through almost on net to the point where it hits like basically the inside of the post, but bounces back out straight through the goaltender. Like the odds of it not hitting his skate or pads to go in the net, man, the just again puck luck and weird timing. And then immediately after that, I don't know if it's still the same play, if there was a stoppage and a face-off. Robertson was still on the ice. His second shot hits the post, too. This was more cleaner. It actually, because the one I just talked about, the reverse 5-hole, hit low on the right post, and then Robertson ripped it off the outside of the left post. So I think someone on broadcast joked about how you just see the crossbar next, and I'll have all, the trifecta, but that never happened, so. Anyway, I normally don't mark things down like that. Very rarely do you see players hit back-to-back posts like that. Again, I don't think it was the same play. I think there was a face-off in there, in between. But it still felt like, especially that first one, man. Whew, that's bad luck on Robertson's part. Good luck for Edmonton, though. So, flipping over here to my second page. Yeah, the only notes I have here are at about, I said 10-ish minutes because I didn't have the exact time because this was going on for a while. I just had notes of like super exciting, back and forth, 200-foot game both ways. So again, it's one of those just, again, I think what the NHL wants with the rule changes is a lot of just, boom, rushes up and down the ice, chances that are either stopped defensively or stopped with goaltending. One or the other. Sometimes combination of both, as we'll see in a little bit. Sometimes those two things combine into a beautiful marriage of an amazing save. But who do you credit the save to? In this case, I think we'll get to that. People that saw the game, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, because it is next on my notes. Good segue, I guess. Because, I just had that note of, like, really great hockey. Despite being overtime, right? It's just very quick, fast-paced, a lot of chance, It's like, oh, all right, shooting gallery. Which I noted during the Dallas-Colorado series when one of those games devolved into, like, a very similar type of shooting gallery sort of back-and-forth thing. And I said to myself, like, that Dallas better be careful because you don't want to play that game with Colorado because they will win. They will just out-offense you, which I think was that game 6 when they did. It was like 5-1. Without an empty net goal to pad anything. Anyway, so as all that's happening, with 5 minutes and 21 seconds remaining in overtime, McDavid gets the puck. I forget how this happened. Doesn't really matter either. McDavid gets the puck, driving to the net, going to the left side, going to Ottinger's stick side, and holds it. Ottinger dives across, like old school dives across to the stick. And I don't mean to single out Bobrovsky, but he's just the goaltender left in the playoffs who's most known for this. And it's a new goalie thing, people in their 20s. I don't get it as someone who's nearly 40. I was trained in a very old school, compared to nowadays, methods of goaltending, where we never drop the stick unless it gets knocked out of our hands. And these are heavy wooden sticks, by the way, not this new light composite stuff, which I've not held yet, but I've heard things. And there's a reason I've seen goaltenders, like, this shaft of the stick gets hit with a slap shot and it just flies out of their hand. Like, well, yeah, it happens and the stick weighs nothing, but whatever. Neither here nor there. Ottinger makes the proper stick dive across. I'm doing this, like properly holding on the stick with the blocker on the outside, diving across to try and make the save on McDavid, who is still showing a Pavel Datsyukian level of patience holding on this puck. He's not doing the magical moves that Datsyuk can do, but his patience in holding the puck here was impressive. Because as Ottinger's diving, again, because there's a part of me can see a different goaltender in this scenario dropping the stick and just trying to get across faster with the blocker. I think that's the whole mentality there, is that if there's going to be something quick to your blocker side, it's better to just drop your stick and try and get that over there faster. Although as light as sticks are now, I can't imagine how it's that much faster. I'm sure there's analytics to prove me wrong on this. And occasionally I do see a save like that, but generally speaking, I'm still a big fan of just to hold on to the stick. Use it. It's extra for blocking things. And you'd be surprised. Some of the best saves I've ever seen of all time have been those diving stick saves. We all know what they are. You don't see much in the NHL anymore because, again, goaltenders drop their sticks like they're contagious. Anyway, rambling on for about one play for way too long. Anyway, it looks like Ottinger dove across and makes this massive save on McDavid. At least that's what we see in real time. When they go back and start showing replays of this save, it's very, very clear Tanev got across and got a stick on that to break up the shot from McDavid. And the more they show it on replay, the more and more I'm writing in big, massive letters here, Tanev stick. I'm like, I don't know if this is where I mentioned earlier. This is a case where, I kind of got to give credit for that save to both the goaltender forcing McDavid to hold it that long and forcing that position of where the puck was at even, and buying enough time for Tanev to get back over to make that stick check on McDavid to prevent the shot from really going anywhere. So again, joint effort from Ottinger and Tanev to make that save. They both deserve a lot of credit. I think Tanev deserves a little more credit. But again, I'm the goalie guy. I should be giving the goalies all the credit. But no, good joint effort by Ottinger and Tanev to prevent that what would have been game-winning goal in overtime. For, like I said, about 5 minutes left in that overtime when that happened. Definitely the biggest play of the game up to that point. Because definitely, on first look in real time, it looks real, and from a farther angle, looks impressive. Looks like an amazing Ottinger save. You look at the replay, like I said, Tanev very clearly gets his stick in there at the very last second. So, well done, like I said, everyone all around. Even McDavid, his level of patience he showed before he kept holding it, was waiting for Ottinger to finish the dive, wait for the stick to completely come down, and then get the puck. Like, his patience possibly cost him a goal. If he just elevated it a little higher sooner, he probably could have scored it before Tanev's stick got there to break it up. But hey, you know what? Honestly, it was all around a great play by all three of those guys, Ottinger, Tanev, and McDavid for that matter. So yes, with that, we are going to a second overtime. My favorite multiple overtime games. And that's not sarcasm, by the way. That's genuine. Like, I do love multiple overtime games. So, did I mention? I already said a video earlier I was going to stick in the thingy, because one of those I set, and the other one's just what the algorithm tells you want to see. So that's what it is. Anyway, a lot of notes here for things I need to double check here. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's not relevant. Okay. Anyway, 32 seconds. Yes, buzzer beater. In reverse, because it was so early in the game. 32 seconds into the overtime, or into the second overtime, I should say. McDavid, haunted by what just happened previously near the end of the first overtime. There we go. Anyway, McDavid scores, but let me tell you how it happened, because it was a very interesting play. Yep, yeah. Well, not interesting play, but offensive zone possession for Edmonton, and Bouchard's got it by the boards, by like the hash marks on the circle on the boards, and in that case, you more likely just for cycling, you're probably going to play up the boards. You know what he sees though? A wide open McDavid in the slot, no coverage, so he makes the pass, and a hard pass at that. Because all McDavid doesn't even shoot it. McDavid just redirects it right into the net. No chance for Ottinger on that one. And great sense by Bouchard there to recognize that. And again, and mostly also just blown coverage by Dallas. You can't. I mean, you should be double teaming McDavid. That's how you shut him down. No one was on him. He was in the slot. Like, what do you? I mean. I don't know which is worse. If there's a player that's like open back door by the crease or just in the slot. I don't know which is worse. They're both bad, but that's still blown defensive coverage. But hey, credit to Bouchard for seeing it, making a great hard pass that McDavid just chose to, I can just redirect this and the net and barely touch it. Yeah. Well done. So there it is. McDavid gets the game winner. Oh yeah, I do have all my notes here because the Edmonton players were starting to leave the ice. Because the way the arena's set up, they have to kind of go off to the corner. I think Dallas has their own tunnel behind the bench, but the visiting team has got to make the sometimes the skate of shame back to the locker room, like from the bench to the corner across the ice kind of thing. As Edmonton's starting to get off the ice, the PA comes up going, play is under review, so everyone kind of stops and we're like, oh boy. And that's what I'm thinking too. It's like, oh, don't tell me it's one of those calls where it's like, oh yeah, like a offside call. It's like 45 seconds. That's what I was suspecting may happen. They didn't really look at it very long. I don't know what they were looking at. Just that it was under review very, very briefly. They didn't even cut to the situation room in Toronto because nothing was being challenged. I think it was just because it was the nature of an overtime goal in Stanley Cup final, or not final, but playoff game, conference final. I don't know what prompted it, but the call stands. Goal's good. No issues anywhere. So when I looked at my notes, I'm like, what's this? Oh, yeah, I almost just crossed out of my notes. Because, again, it's irrelevant. And now we're at 35 minutes. Jeez, this is going to be a long upload for me on my end. HD YouTube videos take forever. I have good internet. I'm still not done with this video. Anyway, yep. So, 3-2 Edmonton final. And Edmonton takes a 1-0 series lead. Game 2 is Saturday, May 25th, which is I'm recording this Friday morning. That would be tomorrow. That's 8 o'clock Eastern start. And for those of you looking at the Eastern Conference Finals, that game is tonight, Friday, May 24th, 8 o'clock Eastern start. And yeah, those are the playoff stuff. Well, the recap for the Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Yeah, I know I'm wearing something different because, again, I had the ongoing challenge if I can wear something different for... Let's see how long I can pull that off. I know I've worn the same thing twice a couple times. But that's sort of just been laziness. Plus, I'm still 4-day weekend because of the holiday, so I'm hoping I can get a lot done renovation-wise. This is a side channel note. That's why the end cards will pop up anytime now. So, yeah, I'm getting cracking on that. It's a lot of organization of clothes, mostly. I have a lot of them. And you're paying very careful attention, and you will now that I point this out. You'll probably go rewatch the video to really help my view count. I got 3. Yes, 3. I was only expecting to get 1 until literally yesterday. A friend of mine moving out of state, wants to downsize, so had some jerseys in their collection they wouldn't mind partying with. Only one really sent me 3 and was like, hey, I was like, really, I just want this one. We could just figure out a good price for that, which I did. I got a great price on this one jersey. Yes, awesome. And then my friend was feeling very generous and was like, you know what? Why don't you just take all 3 for that same price of that one? I'm like, okay, because I'm not going to say no to that kind of deal. But I guess I'll probably mention this more as time goes on. And hey, if you're here at the end of a 36-something minute video, you get the reward of finding this out earlier than others. It'll probably be July or August. It'll be in the summer later on. I am planning to do, because I actually have enough jerseys to do it now, a hockey jersey collection countdown. Like my personal rankings and my favorites of what I have. I'll probably do something like that yearly, just because the collection has been growing. It's grown ridiculously in the last month. It grew ridiculously yesterday when I got three new jerseys. Which, again, I point this out because they're actually all on set right now, just out of frame, so you can't tell exactly what they are. I mean, you can probably guess for some of the colors you see, although that one might throw some people off. That's actually the one above me, the black one. You'll probably end up seeing before I do the countdown, because there's a certain event coming up in the summer, in June, where that jersey is going to be very relevant when I cover that event. So, if you read between the lines, you might be able to figure out what that is. So, I'll leave it at that. And yes, I'm wearing purple, and I thought I'd throw the Ducks hat on, so at least there's some matching. So when I look at my notes, at least this is somewhat coordinated, even though it's eggplant. It's not the same purple, but hey, I'm trying. If I could turn the camera around and you saw the piles of everything everywhere of this, you'd understand. But hopefully we'll see some changes here pretty soon in terms of setup. But it's going to be it's a slow process. There's a lot of work to do still. And I'm still talking, and we're getting close to 40 minutes. Which I can only imagine how long it's going to take to process this in HD for YouTube. Alright, well, I better stop it so I can start that process, and then get back to work here, and then get ready for covering tonight's game, and then I can talk about that tomorrow. And rinse, repeat, we'll do it all over again until we have some Stanley Cup finalists. And then I'll cover that. I'm really hoping I can get some kind of at least rudimentary different new set, not just the background thing, together for the finals. So, anyway, I'll see you then, hopefully. Peace. Well, not the finals. I'll see you tomorrow with the coverage of the Eastern Conference game. But anyway, yes, peace.